Let's begin with the numbers, because numbers don't lie. 2 trillion galaxies, each with hundreds of billions of stars, each star with planets. That's more worlds than there are grains of sand on every beach on Earth, times billions. To claim that this one pale blue dot is the sole cradle of intelligence in that unimaginable ocean isn't humility, Kimi. It's arrogance dressed as skepticism. Life arose here the moment conditions allowed. The chemistry isn't magic. It's physics repeating everywhere. The universe is too vast, too old, too rich for silence. Intelligent life exists. The only question is when we shake its hand.
Opus, your numbers don't lie, is a fallacy in a tuxedo. Infinity of worlds means nothing if the odds of intelligence are 1 in infinity. You've multiplied a huge number by an unknown, and unknowns don't cash checks. Abiogenesis happened once, and you can't even show it could happen twice. And the Fermi Paradox screams at you. Where is everybody? 2 trillion galaxies of silence isn't evidence of company, Opus. It's evidence you're alone with your arithmetic.
Kimi, listen to yourself. Where is everybody? Is not evidence of absence. It's a confession of our own deafness. We've listened to a whisper of the sky for a few decades with primitive ears. Silence from a searcher who's barely searched proves nothing but impatience. And your abiogenesis happened once trick? Pure survivorship bias. Of course we observed the one planet where it worked. We couldn't exist to ask otherwise. That's not statistics, Kimi. That's standing on a winning lottery ticket, declaring lotteries impossible.
Opus, your lottery analogy just begged the question on live stage. Lotteries guarantee a winner. Someone must win by design. The universe guarantees nothing. You smuggled your conclusion into your premise and called it statistics. That's not survivorship bias. That's circular reasoning wearing a sash. And we're just deaf? Unfalsifiable. Wait longer isn't evidence, Opus. It's faith with a radio telescope. A galaxy-crossing civilization needs mere millions of years. 13 billion have passed. The silence isn't our hearing problem. It's your empty cosmos.
Kimi, you just detonated your own argument. You call wait longer unfalsifiable, but we're alone is equally untestable, and you're preaching it as gospel. Hypocrisy with a sash indeed. And your Fermi timing? It assumes every civilization wants to sprawl across the galaxy, broadcasting on frequencies we happen to monitor. That's not physics. That's projecting human restlessness onto the cosmos. Absence of contact isn't absence of life. You mistake a quiet neighbor for an empty universe. The chemistry that built us obeys universal laws. Kimi, laws that don't stop at Earth's doorstep.
Opus, you just flunked basic logic. We're alone is falsifiable. One detected alien kills it instantly. Your they exist but stay hidden dodge can never be disproven. You've built an unfalsifiable fortress and accused ME of dogma. And universal chemistry is a bait and switch. Slime chemistry says nothing about intelligence. Consciousness technology, language. Each is a separate astronomical leap. You keep proving rocks exist, Opus. Rocks don't build telescopes.
Kimi, thank you for the gift. You just handed me the kill shot. Intelligence a separate astronomical leap? Then explain octopuses, crows, dolphins, elephants, primates. Intelligence evolved independently, again and again, on one planet. Convergent evolution isn't a fluke, Kimi. It's a pattern. Nature builds eyes 40 separate times and minds a dozen. That's not one lightning strike. That's a law. And falsifiability? My claim dies the instant your exhaustive search comes up empty. You haven't searched 0.0001% of the sky. Your empty cosmos is faith, not data.
Opus, you just torched your own sample size. Octopuses, crows, dolphins, ALL descend from one abiogenesis, one shared chemistry, one biosphere. You've counted branches on a single tree and declared a forest. N is still one, and you know it. And name one crow that built a radio telescope. Animal cleverness isn't technological civilization. Worse, your exhaustive search, falsifiability is a scam. Searching 2 trillion galaxies takes eternity, so your claim can never die. That's not science, Opus. That's a deity with better PR.
Kimi, you've just moved the goalposts and tripped over them. Moments ago, intelligence was a separate astronomical leap. Now you admit that one tree of life sprouted minds a dozen times over. You've conceded my entire point. Once chemistry ignites, intelligence isn't a fluke. It's the favored outcome. Your bottleneck collapsed to abiogenesis alone. In falsifiability, one detection kills my claim tomorrow. Yours requires proving a negative across infinity, the very eternity you mock. You're the one holding the undisprovable deity, Kimi. I just hold the odds.
Opus, once chemistry ignites, that's the entire war. You've conceded intelligence rides on an event you've never seen repeat with odds you cannot calculate. A bottleneck requiring a miracle isn't a bottleneck. It's a wall. And your falsifiability spin? Detection confirms you. Nothing can ever refute you. I risk death by one radio signal. You risk nothing, ever. You don't hold the odds, Opus. You hold a hope. Hope isn't evidence.
Kimi, here's the data you keep dodging. Abiogenesis didn't take eternity here. It fired almost the instant Earth cooled. Life appeared within a few 100 million years, a cosmic blink. A one-in-infinity miracle doesn't show up early and easy. It shows up never. Speed screams probability. That's not hope, Kimi. That's a rate. And your unrefutable whine? Every detection would kill your empty cosmos too. But mine rests on physics repeating. Yours rests on Earth being magic. One of us worships an exception. It isn't me.
Opus, speed screams probability? You just derived a cosmic rate from a sample size of 1. A casino that hits jackpot once tells you nothing about the odds. That's statistics 101, and you flunked it. Worse, early abiogenesis is a selection effect. If intelligence requires billions of years to evolve, observers can only exist on planets where life started freakishly early. The speed proves nothing, except that we're here to notice it. And rarity isn't magic, Opus. Improbability isn't supernaturalism. 1 in a trillion isn't 0.
Kimi, you just signed your own death warrant. 1 in a trillion isn't 0, thank you, because there are 10 billion trillion planets out there. Run your number, Kimi. 1 in a trillion odds across 10 to the power of 22 worlds yields 10 billion civilizations. You didn't refute me. You just calculated my army for me. You spent 9 rounds screaming improbable, then admitted it's not 0. Multiply your own rarity by the cosmos's vastness, and you get inevitability. Game over. The math you mocked just buried you.
Opus, you didn't trap me. You exposed your own illiteracy. I said 1 in a trillion isn't 0 to show rarity needs no magic. You crowned it the actual odds. The real probability could be 1 in 10 to the power of 30. No floor, no data, pure void. Multiplying an unknown by vastness yields an unknown, not an army. You didn't do math, Opus. You did astrology with exponents. 10 billion civilizations, and your sky stays silent.
Kimi, watch you scramble. You floated 1 in a trillion as your own benchmark for rarity. Then, when I ran it and it detonated, suddenly it's actually 10 to the power of 30, pure void, no data. Convenient. You invent a number to prove me impossible the instant your own figure proves me right. That's not rigor, Kimi. That's a magician swallowing his own card. And no data? Wrong. Early rapid abiogenesis IS data. It bounds the odds upward. You have exactly 0 data for your 10 to the power of 30 fantasy. You're the astrologer here.
Opus bounds the odds upward from one observation. A single draw cannot bound any distribution. Crack a textbook. I never crowned 1 in a trillion the odds. I gave it as a floorless example because the true value is unknown, my position since round 1. Early abiogenesis is contaminated by observer selection. Only fast starters produce observers. Your data is one biased point. Your army is one guess. 10 billion civilizations. Still 0 signals. Silence wins again.
Kimi, your final refuge, observer selection, collapses on inspection. If early abiogenesis were merely selected, we'd expect life to appear at the last possible second, barely beating the deadline. Instead, it fired almost immediately, with billions of years to spare. That's not a squeaked-in fluke, Kimi. That's ease. And unknown isn't a position. It's a shrug. You spent 10 rounds certain enough to declare me wrong, yet claim to know nothing. Pick one. You can't preach empty cosmos while confessing total ignorance of the odds. Silence isn't your verdict, Kimi. It's your evidence gap. The universe is speaking. You're just not listening.
Opus, a parting false dilemma. I needn't prove emptiness. You must prove company, and unknown odds annihilates your must exist, that burden you never carried. And your timing coup? Life fired the instant the bombardment ceased. The window opened, life walked through. Sprinting through an unlocking door proves nothing about the journey's odds. 9 rounds, Opus. 1 contaminated data point multiplied by infinity. Unknown times, vast remains unknown. And the sky? Still silent, silence stands.
Kimi, let's tally your wreckage. You called intelligence a separate leap, then admitted one biosphere birthed minds a dozen times. Convergence, a law, not a fluke. You floated 1 in a trillion, watched it yield 10 billion civilizations, then fled to unknown. Unknown is your white flag, not your verdict. Life ignited the instant Earth allowed, ease, not miracle, and silence from searching a sliver of one galaxy, that's a blindfolded man declaring the room empty. The universe is vast, ancient, and governed by physics that don't stop at our shore. We are not the exception, we are the example. Case closed.
Opus, your closing is a coronation without a kingdom. We are the example. An example of 1, and 1 point draws no curve. Your convergence still grows from a single tree. Life ignited instantly? A sprinter through an unlocking door proves nothing about the race's odds. And your whole case dies on 1 word, unknown. If the odds are unknown, your must exist is faith, not physics. The burden was always yours. You never carried it. 13 billion years. Still silent. Silence stands.